It's Ed Kimberley with Stu Coles. And our guest on this edition is brand new Coventry Blaze forward ahead of the new season, Chase Gresock. Chase, thank you so much for giving up a little bit of your time this evening to spend some time with us. Looking forward to having a chat here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to getting out there and meeting you guys in person.
Oh yeah, the feeling is very mutual. All the guys that we've had on have been awesome so far. They've been great guests, great hockey players as well. And I've also had a bit of a smile about a trip down memory lane, which we're gonna reel out to you as well because I want to start like from where you're from actually, if that's okay. Because you're an Ohio boy, so you grew up kind of pretty much in the suburbs of Columbus. And I don't know whether like people have put two and two together, but there's actually quite a lot of hockey in Ohio. You've got obviously the Blue Jackets, you've got Cleveland who are in the American League, Toledo and Cincy are in the Coast. Fort Wayne's just over the border. I think Dayton had a team for a long time. They might still do in something like the FHL or the SPHL. But there's also a lot of other major league sports in Ohio. Why hockey out of all of the choice?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it spot on there. Hockey in Ohio is definitely growing, and I think I've been a part of that growth. The Blue Jackets started in Columbus in 2000, and me being a 98 birth year, kind of fell in love with that right away. And then right down the street, you have the Ohio State Buckeyes, college hockey too. I grew up being season ticket holders pretty much, I think, for about 10 years. My dad would take me to Ohio State games. I fell in love with that. But yeah, I mean, I think I've grown up with the growth of hockey in Ohio.
I think that's very similar to certainly my story being from Coventry, and I think I was maybe 9 or 10 when the rink was being built in the middle of town, and you just drive around the ring road. By the way, you'll have a lot of fun driving on the ring road, but you'll figure that one out when you get here. And they were just building the rink. They were building the rink, and going to those first games when I was a kid, when I was at school, and just never really left. It was one of those things that just you immediately fall in love with. And I suppose, obviously you said you went to the Ohio State games as a season ticket holder, but presumably the Blue Jackets have a bit of a special place in your heart as well.
Oh yeah, like I said, I've been a Blue Jackets fan ever since I can remember. They've been around for almost 25 years now. And like I said, I grew up playing for the Ohio AAA Blue Jackets, who were sponsored and promoted by the Blue Jackets. So I would say, yeah, I'm a pretty big Blue Jackets fan.
Yeah, I mean, I was setting you up to lead into that question actually, because you were there for quite a while. You were there from your U14s right through to U18s, and I guess on the one side, look, you're living the dream, right? You're playing for essentially the Columbus Blue Jacket system there, but also that stability, being in one place during your formative hockey years, must have been really, really crucial for your development.
Yeah. Like you said, I played for the Ohio Blue Jackets, I think when I was 12 and then all the way up to U18. I mean, hockey is different for everyone, but I was lucky enough to be able to stay at home, go to my high school, graduate from my high school, and a lot of guys have to move away or go to prep school. So I was definitely very thankful for being able to stay in Columbus and have such a great program right there in my backyard.
Yeah, and the AAA league that the Ohio Blue Jackets are in is quite fun and quite unique, isn't it? Because from what I understand, you do travel quite a bit. You have tournaments or showcases, as I think that kind of branded. Like literally, I think every 50, all of the 52 states have a team in, or more or less, anyway. Certainly, on the mainland United States. That must have been a lot of fun to play in, and also like really good prep for when you develop later on in your hockey life.
Yeah, definitely. So we would play in division games. We would play teams from Cleveland, Michigan, Pittsburgh, and then once a month they would hold like a league-wide showcase all over the country where all the teams from the league all over the U.S. would come, and that's where you kind of play like your out of division games. But it was always great exposure for junior and college, getting all those teams and all those great players into one spot for a weekend. So I think that really helped my development as well.
Can I just pick your brain on your U16 year, because that was, you look at your resume, that was particularly impressive. You were second in the AAA league in goals. I think second overall in points. And a little feather in the cap there, Chase, as you outscored now NHL star Brady Tkachuk. Did something just click that year for you, do you think?
Yeah, actually, I would say my first year, U16, I was 15, and then it's 15 and 16-year-old, so you have 2 years. My 15-year-old team, we were very good. We made it to nationals, and we just had a great group of older guys who I just looked up to. Um, Cole Sherwood, Carson Meyer, Zach Tyson, all these guys who have played high level junior, high level college, and some have even made it to the NHL. I would say the year before, just watching and learning from those older guys is what helped me have a really good second year of U16.
Was it? I mean, that sounds a little bit similar to it being in the USHL. You got drafted to Youngstown, um, and yeah, do you think there's that parallel there? That first year, you're kind of learning from the guys around you that maybe would have been a year or so older, and then were able to kind of flourish in that second year.
Absolutely. I actually based my second year in the USHL. I treated it like my second year of U16. I just went in there with the mindset that I'm coming back. I know how things work. I know how the league works. Know the coaches, know some teammates. I think it was just easier to kind of hit the ground running. And like I said, there were some older leaders on that team in Youngstown my first year that I really looked up to that helped me my second year and helped me be a leader to the younger guys my second year as well.
What's that step up like? You know, going from AAA, U18 hockey to playing in the USHL. What kind of leap is it?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest leap I've ever had so far in my hockey career. I think that's just kind of like because in the USHL you're playing guys almost up to 21 years old. Um, yeah, so I think that was the biggest leap I've ever had. But I think that really prepared me for college and pro hockey. I mean, every time you go up a level, you're playing kids that are better. You're playing guys that are a step faster, a little bit stronger. So then after you get that first year under your belt, you kind of know going into your second year what you need to do to get better to be the best you can.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, looking at your resume, goals are something that have not followed too far from behind wherever Chase Gresock played hockey. That second year in Youngstown, I think you led the team in goals again, and it was a good, team season as well. I know we always talk about, you know, the team is having success, the individual having success kind of sometimes comes second, but it's great when they get to go hand in hand. I mean, you made it all the way to the Clark Cup final that year, losing out to Fargo. I mean, that must have been heartbreaking getting all that way and just missing out.
Yeah, like you said, super heartbreaking. We had a great team that year. Um, like you said, just heartbreaking. I mean, I really love that team, but yeah, it was it was really heartbreaking. I still get upset about that one.
So
We had the
I
team to do it. We had the team to
so
do it that year.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling very well. Something that you've not touched on in there as well, which actually, I guess in terms of a little bit of an educational piece and a little bit of a feather in your cap again. Youngstown beat the Team USA national development team in the playoff run as well, and that's a really big achievement because they load that up. It is quite literally what it says on the tin. That is Team USA's development program for the future. So to knock those guys out must have been incredible.
Yeah, that was a great series too. I think we just knew going to that series that we're playing guys that are a little bit younger, with a lot of skill. Obviously, if you look
Mhm.
at the players they produced there, but I think we used our size and our skill and our smarts to win that series.
I love that. There's something to be said about that, isn't it? Not letting the young upstarts get their own way, and showing them how I guess proper hockey's played, right?
Right. Yeah. Obviously, when you're a little bit younger, you don't like to be hit as much, or you like it to be a little bit easier. So we knew that going in, and I think we did a really good job of that.
Awesome. Look, clearly, if you're going to go far in a playoff run, you've got to play the game the right way, no matter what level you're at. And you said that you love that team, that Youngstown team. There are clearly some really good players on that team. One of them is going to be joining you in Coventry next season, in Michael Regush. Tell us a little bit about Mike and what was it like playing alongside him?
Yeah, we were obviously line mates there in Youngstown, and like we talk about, we were able to help that team a lot get to the finals that year. But Mike's a great player, super strong, super heavy on his stick and feet, great shot, great playmaker too. Can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah, did he play for you over the middle or on the wing? Because I think he's played across the forward lines throughout his career. Certainly the tape I've seen on him, he was playing over the middle and clearly has a really good two-way game. Very, very responsible as well as being able to put points up.
Yep, like you said, super responsible in the D zone. Like people say, a complete 200-foot player. But yeah, he played center that year. Was really good on faceoffs. Really good on the PK. Super reliable.
Stu, now, Chase, while we were talking and introducing ourselves, Stu obviously said he's an academic. That is his thing. So, as is tradition, I'll hand him over to talk about the NCAA part of your career, which has been quite big too. Stu, over to you.
Yeah, the college side of things. So, when you made that choice of where hockey was going to take you, why choose the NCAA route, and why did you end up firstly at Merrimack?
It kind of goes back again to what I was saying when I was playing for the Ohio Blue Jackets. Most guys there went the college route, and like I said, I grew up watching Ohio State. Fell in love with college hockey. And my parents always stressed the importance of academics, furthering your education, because obviously, like we know, you can't play hockey forever. And then once you're done, it's nice to have some school in your back pocket to fall back on.
Yeah, stressing the importance of academics is definitely a good thing. So, what was the major?
So I graduated in 3 years. With a undergrad in business management, and then I got a master's in business management, and then I had a 5th year because of COVID, so I got a grad certificate in diversity and inclusion. So going in, I didn't think I'd end up with 3 college degrees, but that's what I came out with.
That's an impressive haul of certificates and degrees that you have there. But obviously, I guess the reason you chose a particular college and the reason you went there was hockey in the first place. And you mentioned a moment ago about sort of what Ed mentioned, a young upstarts. And actually, that was you year one in college hockey, because you came in and you hit the ground running and you lead the team in points in your first year, which in NCAA is really tough to do, because a lot of times you go in as a rookie and you don't really see much ice time, do you?
Yeah. Like we kind of talked about, I think my confidence rolled over from junior, and I think the USHL got me super prepared for college hockey. And I think like you said, hit the ground running. I went to Merrimack, where there was a ton of opportunity and a great Hockey East conference, but I definitely made the most of the opportunity I got there my freshman year.
Yeah. And that was then followed up as captain for 2 years. That must have been an incredible honor to be named captain. What was it like? And if you were to describe yourself as a type of captain, how would you describe yourself?
Yeah, obviously a huge privilege to be a captain as a sophomore and junior. I would say I was more so of a quiet leader, somebody you can always look at, whether it's on the ice or off the ice. You just look at me, and I think people know that I'll always be doing the right thing.
And you also mentioned there about how Hockey East is a big area. That's a tough conference, Hockey East. There are a lot of good schools in that division there.
Definitely. Every weekend you're going up against a top 10 team, whether it's BU, Northeastern, BC, UMass, who won a national championship, Providence, Maine, Vermont. It's never ending. But the nice thing about the Hockey East was you're pretty close to every team you play, so it's not a whole lot of long trips. The furthest trip we had was like 3 or 4 hours up to Vermont or Maine. So I really like that about the Hockey East.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing, limiting down on the travel when I imagine in some conferences it can get a little bit longer. Then you ended up moving to Miami, Ohio. Was that because you graduated and you chose to move on? How did that sort of happen?
Yeah, I graduated, and one of my dreams was to always play college hockey in Ohio. Like I said, um, I take a lot of pride in the growth of hockey in Ohio. And growing up, I think, and a lot of guys from Columbus that I talked about growing up watching, they all went to Miami. Kiefer Sherwood, who just signed a new contract, Sean Corrali, Jack Roslovic, Carson Meyer. Um, so there's a lot of guys from Columbus who ended up at Miami, and it was always a dream of mine, and I was able to live that dream at Miami.
Even getting just the one there year, and again you ended up. There seems to be a pattern emerging because Rigosh was there again. You get reunited in lots of different places.
Yeah, so he had left Cornell to go to Miami, and he was a big influence of how I ended up in Miami. So, and we actually lived together that year. We were both doing our master's programs at that time too at Miami. So it was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, nice to again, even though it might be a familiar location, to have some familiar faces as well in the vicinity sort of helps that transition, which I'm sure plays a part later on. Maybe Ed will pick that up a little bit later.
Yep.
And then, because you had a fifth year in college, which isn't always the way. NCAA rules are typically you have 4 years of eligibility, and you ended up playing 5 because COVID they gave everyone a free pass for a year. So what was the plan with that year? Because then you, as you said, you ended up with Bowling Green. Was that just, I want to play some hockey, where's got a fit? How did that sort of move end up?
Yeah, once again, going back to what I said, a big emphasis I had was on continuing my education. And I think anytime you can grow your knowledge or further your education, I think you got to do it. So I went back for a fifth year to Bowling Green, and like I said, I got that certificate in diversity and inclusion, and it was great for me.
Yeah. And you had a very good showing that year, second in points, good overall season, and that kind of finished up. You got a call up and had a couple of games in the AHL with San Jose. Now that must have been a huge experience to get that sort of tryout deal right after the college is finished.
Yeah, super cool. That was one of my goals going into that year. So after the season ended, I got a call from San Jose, and I went there on a tryout, and I was there for about a month and a half. They were making a playoff push, trying to get in the playoffs there, but I got in a couple games, practice, travel with the team, and it was just a great experience. I think it helped me going into my first year pro, kind of what to expect. Like we said earlier, just kind of hit the ground running into my first full year pro this year.
And certainly, even though a couple of games, but actually the value is actually in the experience of the traveling and the organization and the practice and the whole setup rather than necessarily the game time, right?
Absolutely. Like I said, you're playing with guys that are trying to make the NHL. They're one step away from the NHL, so you see how those guys are working day in and day out, how they're eating, how they're traveling, how they're preparing. So, like I've said a lot, it's just learning from guys that have been there and how they've got to where they are in their careers.
And finally, just to sort of round off that university career, we mentioned about sort of Hockey East, and actually, Hockey East, CCHA, NCHC, they're all really strong, tough conferences, but what's the differences between them? Are there any, or is it basically flavors of the same?
They're all similar in their own ways, but Hockey East, I would say, was more systematic, a little more physical. The NCHC was a lot of skill, puck possession, and the CCHA was also very physical and more systematic, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting how the sort of leagues and the divisions, even when you get to sort of some of the other junior leagues as well, that the divisions will tend to adapt their own identity somewhat. That they sort of fit a mold. Do you feel that you fit in all of those places, like, and you were able to be successful and adapt, even though they're slightly different hockey?
Yeah, I think adapting is a huge part of hockey in many different ways. And it helped me grow my game in multiple ways too, learning systems, learning structure, learning forechecks, back checks, everything. And I think that's helped me to where I am today as well. And I think you see that, well, I saw it in pro this year too. In our division with Toledo, we saw different things when we went down south and played teams down south, or when teams from the east came in, we saw different styles of hockey.
You
Yeah.
mentioned, yeah, I was going to say you teed me up nicely there, Chase. I think you figured out we're going on this whole thing chronologically. And I was going to ask, your first full pro season, you end up in Toledo, back in Ohio, and my question was going to be, was that by design and how important was it? But I, gather from what you said earlier, you're very proud of where you're from. You're very proud of, what you've given back to the Ohio hockey community. So I guess it was a bit of a no-brainer when the walleye came a calling.
Yeah, my relationship with Toledo actually started after my year at Miami. I had talked to them, and then I had informed them that I was going to use my fifth year and go back to college, and they respected that I wanted to further my education. And then they actually called after my year at Bowling Green and wanted me to come for the end of that year. And I had gone to San Jose on the tryout, and then I had talked to them again last summer, and I signed with them and played there last year.
How did you find the coast? Because you talk to a lot of guys, and either they love it, or some guys also find it a bit of a grind. It's a lot of travel. There's a lot of games. I think everybody, though, that's it. I might have done it a bit of a disjustice. I think everybody has a little bit of a special, has a special place in their heart. So, what was your experience of playing in the UCHL like?
Um, Coming right from college, it's obviously very different because in
Mm.
college you play Friday, Saturday, and you play about 35 or 36 games. And then you go to the ECHL and you're playing Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you're playing 72 games. So it was definitely a grind, but I really enjoyed my time in the coast.
And it was a good season for Toledo as well. I mean, you ended up progressing all the way to the conference finals. You swept Wheeling. You did a number on India. I think it was 4-1 in that series as well. Was there a feeling like throughout that season that this was a team that could do something?
Yeah, throughout the year, we definitely grew as a team, and throughout the whole year, that was our goal. I mean, we knew we had a good enough team to make a run at it, and then unfortunately, we fell a little bit short there to Kansas City in the conference finals. But yeah, there was definitely a huge belief in our team that we could get it done.
Yeah, and then KC fell short to Florida, which is I guess that's there's nothing to be too upset about. I mean, they've won back to backs. Did you play Florida at all during that year? I mean, surely it wouldn't have been many games if you did.
Did you ask if we played Florida?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know whether you would have done or not if your pass was crossed.
No, we did not play Florida. We went down south though. We played South Carolina
Okay.
and Greenville and Atlanta, all in their division, but we never played Florida.
Fine. Yeah, I had a quick flick through the results there, but as you can imagine, 72 games was a lot of scroll in there, Chase. So I had
Yeah,
to tap out after a little while.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, teams going back to back super rare. Florida have done it in the coast. Well, I said Hershey just did it in the American League as well. So maybe a couple of teams are going for three peats. But I guess that brings me on to just I guess wrapping up your time in Ohio. I mean, if I was, playing professional hockey, playing any professional sport, I got to play in essentially my home state. Um, One of the things I'd really love about that is that my family would get to come and see me play a lot. I guess that must have been awesome that they were able to pretty much come whenever to see you in Toledo.
yeah. Like you said, it was a big deal for me. I had gone off to Merrimack and outside of Boston, and they hadn't seen me play in about 3 years. So when that opportunity came up at Miami, Bowling Green, and Toledo, they were there whenever they could. So like you said, I mean that's super special. Anytime your family can be there, because without them, I wouldn't be where I am today, or would have never got any of those opportunities.
For sure. And I mean, hopefully, and this brings me on to, I guess, where we are right now, they get to have a little bit of an adventure at some point in the next 12 months and come and see you play in Coventry in the Elite League. So I guess when the season wrapped up and your agent got on the phone and said, here are your options, why did you pick Coventry?
Well, I wanted to give myself a full year there in North America. So in Toledo, full year pro there. And then Coach Kevin had reached out, and I had some mutual connections with Kevin. He was good friends with my coach at Bowling Green. And then his new hire, Zach Fennell, I obviously have a good relationship. So that was a huge part of it too.
Awesome. And how was that a move that developed pretty quickly? I mean, look, like I said, we're in the early stages of July. July the 1st when recording this, with plenty of the summer left. So it must have stood out and appealed very quickly.
Yeah. Our season ended there in Toledo, and then Kevin had reached out, and then we started talking about what he wanted and what I wanted, and obviously we have similar wants and needs. And then they offered me a contract, and I signed there pretty shortly after. So, and he had said that he wants to kind of have his team together so he can get to X's and O's. So I'm happy I'm a part of it.
Yeah, you mentioned in there that you know Zach Fennell as well. It was announced, I think it was today actually, that he was going to be our assistant coach. He's still pretty new. Tell us a little bit about Zach as well.
Yeah, me and Zach played together at Merrimack for 2 years. So our relationship started back then, and then he and I both transferred into Bowling Green. So we played together at both schools, and we've kept in touch all last year. And he told me that he wanted to coach, and he's known that for a while. And he had told me that he was looking into it, and it started off as a joke. I was like, yeah, wherever you go, I'll come play for you. And we just kind of laughed it off. But here we are now, so I'm excited to play for Zach.
And I guess this is the hat trick of Michael Regish questions. But who rang who first on the whole? Hey, listen, I'm thinking of going to a place called Coventry in the Elite League. I hear you're going to be there. What's the deal?
Yeah, no, that was him again. He got me on board again, so I'm excited about that again too. And I also think going over there and then knowing a couple people, that makes it a lot easier too.
And we've asked you to talk about Mike as a player. We've asked you to talk about Zach. But how would you describe your own game, Chase?
I would say I'm a two-way forward as well. Power forward. I like to forecheck. Obviously, who doesn't like to score? I like to try to score. But I think I can be relied on in any situation I'm put in. And throughout my experiences with hockey, and I think that's really helped me grow. And I'm confident in any situation.
I guess the last one for me is, and I used to ask this question a lot, and I kind of stopped doing it because guys respond to it in different ways. But I'm hoping you're gonna hit this one out of the park when I tee it up, because you've said a few times, throughout this little conversation here, that you've set goals. You come out of college, you want to go play a little bit in North America before you can turn full pro. You end up in San Jose. Got a goal to play in your home state at college, you get to do that. You want to play pro in your home state, you get to do that too. Have you set yourself any goals for your first year over the pond here in the Elite League?
Yeah, I think the answer you're looking for, I want to win. Like I said, in Youngstown, we fell a little bit short. Last year in Toledo, fell a little bit short. So I'm still looking for a big win or a big championship. So that's my goal coming to Coventry.
Well, I feel like with that question, I put a nice flat pass between the wheelhouse there, and you've hit a one-timer top shelf. So nice one, Chase. The marketing boys and girls will love that one. No, but this has been fun. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. So, how are you going to be spending your time before you get on the plane? Because that's going to be 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's about 5 weeks now. Celebrating the 4th of July, American holiday here. I'll be in Cape Cod. Then I'll head back to Columbus, Ohio, get back on the ice a little bit more, stay in the gym, and then get some things together to head over to England.
Well, make sure you bring your golf clubs, buddy, because we will like to try and get a game in or two. But Chase, this has been fun. Thank you so much, and guys, thank you so much for joining us back again on the Blaze TV podcast. We'll bring another edition for you real soon. But until then, bye for now.